Sony just sent me the brand new A6700. We're going to take a look at it today from a vlogger's perspective. Let's take a Jam Life tech adventure. Hi everyone and welcome back. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell to keep up to date with all the latest vlogging tech. Please also give a like to the video if it helps you out. We really appreciate your support. So the A6700, we want to look at it today from a vlogger's perspective. What we're going to do is go back to the studio and talk about the specs and what we like about the camera, and then we're going to come back and do a bit of a vlog because we're looking at this camera from a vlogger's perspective. So we want to see how the image quality is, what the stabilization's like, what the crop is on that stabilization, and have a bit of a vlog around the harbor here. Also take some slow motion. We're going to do a lot of things, but let's go back to the studio first and take a look at the specs. Hi everyone and welcome to the studio. So let's take a look at this wonderful new APS-C camera from Sony. The Sony A6700 is the latest enthusiast level APS-C mirrorless camera from Sony. It uses a 26 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor with image stabilization with a comprehensive set of stills and video features. Its key specifications include 26 megapixel BSI CMOS APS-C sensor, Bion's XR processor and dedicated IA processing engine, AF tracking with subject recognition, 759 AF points with 93% coverage, 11 FPS shooting with mechanical or electronic shutter, lossless raw compression option, high-F and HLG still image modes, 4K up to 60 from that 6K capture, so it's downsampled actually to 4K, 4K 120 on a 1.58 times crop, 10-bit video with 422 or 420 color, S-Cinetone, S-Log3 and HLG profiles, uploadable LUTs, USB 3.2 Gen 2 with 10 Gbps output, 2 times MIMO Wi-Fi, UVC UAC streaming from the 4K 30. So the Sony A6700 is available now with a list price of $1,399 US for the body only, and it's available in some kits already as well. It's $1,499 with the 16 to 50mm f.3 to f.6 OSS power zoom, or $1,799 with the 18 to 135mm lens. For all the updates in the camera, perhaps the most significant change in the A6700 is the adoption of the second command dial on the front of the camera. This makes it Sony's first A6000 series camera to allow control with forefinger and thumb rather than having thumb-only control dials. This brings the camera into line with the A7 series, and for that matter, most other cameras costing more than $1,000. The A6700 uses the BSI CMOS APS-C sensor, which we have to assume is the same one used on the FX3. The sensor has autofocus points scattered across most of the area, giving an autofocus system that covers 93% of the image area, up from 84% on the previous generation of Sony APS-C cameras. The new sensor shoots at the same 11 frames per second as the previous generation of cameras, but now has the option to shoot at that 11 FPS with electronic shutter, if say you want 1 to 8,000 second shutter speed, for instance. So the camera does have a significant rolling shutter if you shoot RAW, but is significantly faster in JPEG only mode. The other most significant hardware change is the use of the latest Bion's XR processor, along with a dedicated processor for handling the complex AI algorithms created by machine learning. This processor combination is one we saw in the company's ZV-E10 full-frame vlogging camera, and it represents a big step step forward for the APS-C series. As well as bringing the power to deliver the camera's subject recognition AF modes, it also allows the A6700 to offer the ZV-E10's vlogging functions that can recognize a subject, crop into it and interpolate the video back up to your chosen output resolution in real time. And this is great for vlogging, so this feature specifically makes it interesting to us. But beyond the performance improvement that comes with greater processing power, the move to a newer generation of processor brings all the other features and advances Sony has made since the A6600. This means a significantly revised and improved menu system, the option to record losslessly compressed RAW files, and the ability to capture 10-bit video, which delivers much more flexible log footage and full HLG HDR video. As well as HLG HDR video, the A6700 can shoot 10-bit HLG stills in the high F format. It can also shoot non-HDR high Fs in your choice of profile. The A6700 becomes the first in the series to utilize a fully articulated rear LCD panel supporting its enhanced video capabilities. A6700 is built around what's almost certainly the same 26 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor as the FX30 from the company's cinema line, and correspondingly the A6700 video capabilities are pretty impressive. The A6700 will shoot up to 4K 60 from its full sensor width or up to 120p from its 1.58 cropped region. Notably, it will do this while capturing 10-bit precision and up to 422 color. As with recent Sony models, you get the choice of XAVC HS H265, XAVHC I, or the XAVCS, depending on your needs. All the I options creep up to 600 MPS, 75 megabytes, which demands the use of an SD card with the fastest V90 rating. So just watch out for that and make sure you've got the right card if you're going up that high. But most modes will happily save to a slower card. From the recent ZV-E10, the 6700 gets the vlog-friendly modes with a series of large on-screen buttons and the auto framing modes that punch in on a recognized subject type and follows them around. This is designed for use with a wide range of compositions, and the camera is mounted on a tripod. Look, it's not something that I generally use, but I have seen a lot of people loving it and using it. So in terms of stabilization, the camera has the active steady shot and it also has IBIS on board. So you can expect the same results as, say, a Sony A7S3. And now we're done with the specs, so let's go back and have a look how the camera performs with a bit of a vlog around Sydney. So we're in the beautiful Sydney Harbour today, guys. I just wanted to tell you a bit about what we're using today. So of course it's the A6700. Also on top of the A6700 is that new Sony mic, the ECM M1. So really excited to test out this mic today. So if you look at the upper house there, we're using the Sony 10 to 20 millimeter power zoom lens as well. It's an f4. So let's have a look at it, just what sort of zoom range we've got on it. So zoom in. So that's the focal length. And now that we're zoomed in, quite a nice zoom range actually. Let's just have a look at the stabilization. So active stabilization together with the IBIS on this camera. How's it doing as I'm holding it as still as I possibly can? I hope really well. What I also love about this camera, as I mentioned back in the studio, is that front dial, so your forefinger can adjust the aperture. So you can see now I can adjust the aperture to make it as light and dark as I like. Really love that function. And now we're at the overseas passenger terminal. I really want to mention one thing, what I've noticed about walking around with this camera. I love the grip. It's a substantial grip on this camera, and I'm really liking it. The camera's still light and compact, great for vlogging, but that grip makes a whole lot of difference. And with the Sony Z battery that we're used to in the A7 series, gives a really quality camera here, and you've got really good battery life. And this is the overseas passenger terminal where all the cruise ships come in Sydney. It's probably one of the best ports for cruise ships in the world, I reckon, with a fantastic view. Here's a bit of a view of that beautiful Sydney Opera House again. And guys, how am I sounding? This microphone, hopefully sounding really well. This is the one we've been waiting for, the ECM1. Really excited about this microphone. We're going to do another video on it in a couple of days, so that you can hear the quality coming from every angle. But the feature I'm most excited about is the left and right, rear and front mode, where you can record someone in front of the camera to the left and behind the camera to the right. Really like that idea, and can't wait to go out vlogging with somebody else and test out that feature. I'm just going to do a pan test, a slow pan test, so you guys can see what sort of stabilization. Remember, I'm not the steadiest holder of a camera. Let's see how this stabilization performs on the slow pan. And sorry, we're going to hit the sun at the end of it and get a bit of sun in our eyes. And here's a good look at Circular Quay here in Sydney as one of the ferry comes out. Now you can catch a ferry here to Taronga Zoo, you can catch a ferry over to Luna Park, even up to Parramatta. You can also catch one over to Manly. They pretty much go to a lot of destinations in Sydney. So right in the middle of the city here we have Circular Quay, which, you know, if you're over here in Sydney, you can take a ferry to a lot of tourist locations here in Sydney. And here's a good shot of the jet boats that are available to go out on if you're brave in Sydney Harbour, because it's a pretty wild ride. And behind it, the beautiful Sydney Harbour Bridge. What do you guys think of this camera so far? Kind of like an image quality, and I love the fact it's so light, but with that great handle. Yeah, I'm swinging towards this camera for vlogging. What I'd also like to mention is the viewfinder. The absence of the viewfinder on the ZV series is, it's not totally necessary for video and vlogging. But when that sun gets really bright, it is really handy. So I think, for my liking, it is a compact viewfinder, so it doesn't, get in the way of things, but I think it is handy for vlogging as well. So another tick for this camera for you vloggers and me. So once again, there's the beautiful Sydney Harbour Bridge. Just underneath, if you can see it there, is Luna Park, Sydney. Kind of like a heritage, well, it's one of the only heritage theme parks in the world. One of two, actually. And that's underneath the bridge. Very popular for tourists to go here in Sydney, Luna Park. Also, if you can see them up on the bridge, we've got some bridge climbers. And you guys can do this too. They go up in groups and it's extremely safe and tethered to the bridge the whole time. So how's the image quality going on the camera, guys? Really liking it. And there's a beautiful opera house. We're closer to it now. Sorry, it's morning time, so the sun's sitting straight over it. But how would you say that the camera's coping with it? At f/22 at the moment, it's kind of like the top of the range for how I can mitigate that sun. What do you guys think? So let's do a bit of a vlog here, guys. Got the Sony mic on top, the ECM1. I got it turned towards me in kind of vlogging mode from front of the camera. We've also got the lens that's wide as it can, which is that 10mm, but the stabilization, the active stabilization, could be cropping in. Also, it's the first time that we've had that flippy screen, so I can see myself quite clearly. That is a great addition and makes this really awesome vlogging camera. It's only got the APS-C sensor in it, so with the Sony ZV-E10 you've got the full frame, but I think the image is still stellar. So that's what it looks like. I'm doing a walking vlog. Just wanted to ask you guys, how's the stabilization as well, and how does it sound, and how do you like how it's framing me at 10mm with that crop? I think 10mm is plenty, to be honest. Not holding the camera too far out. Yep, vlogging tick tick. So we're here in the Botanical Gardens, and this is a huge, must be 100 or 200 years old, whatever it is, modern day bay fig tree. They're all around Sydney, and when they're this size, they are very old. But what I wanted to sort of demonstrate here is the dynamic range of the camera, to see how it is good in those shadows, and also in the highlights or the lighter areas. I suspect this would perform reasonably well in low light, although, you know, a full frame's going to do better as it lets more light onto the sensor. But look, I think for most instances, this is going to be all you need for low light performance. But what do you guys think from the, you know, the image we have here from light and dark? So let's test out this walking vlog. Again, behind me I've got the beautiful Sydney Botanic Gardens. I'm going to take a walk up the stairs of the Opera House to check out the stabilization in a minute. But how's it going again here? Well in frame again, so plenty of width on this 10 to 20mm lens from Sony. Really loving the power feature on it as well. So how are we thinking about the camera? So let's really test out the stabilization here of the camera, the IBIS and active stabilization on. Let's run up some stairs at the Opera House. And there we have it, and the reward is an awesome view. How did that stabilization go?
And here's a bit of an example of slow motion. So 4K 120, that's 4 times slow motion. And here's a bit of a time-lapse, motion time-lapse. This was done on the RS3 Mini. And I have to say that the camera balanced perfectly on the gimbal, and also all the controls were available on the RS3 Mini. So that's a big win if you need the RS3 Mini for this camera. And we all know this is a hybrid camera as well. So here's a few photos I took just so you can see image quality coming out of this camera in terms of stills.
Here's a beautiful shot of the Opera House with that bridge sneaking through in the background. Look, I'm really starting to like this camera. Lightweight, great image, 4K 120, APS-C, interchangeable lenses. What more can you ask for? Well, you can ask for a nice grip and a Z battery for, you know, better battery life as well. So big step up from the A6600 here. The A6700, I think, is becoming one of my favorite vlog cameras. So guys, that's it for today's video. Please don't forget to comment below and tell us what you think as a vlogger of the A6700. And don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell, and give us a thumbs up. And we'll see you guys on the next Jam Life Tech Adventure.